Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's EBC video. Yes, we are in Times Square, New York, coming to you this week for the EBC. Let me show you a little bit about what this looks like. If you look way off there, you can actually see at the top of those lights right in the middle, that's the crystal ball that drops every year. And even though the camera doesn't do that much for it, it actually says 2024 right up there. So this week we're thinking about Mark 1, 9 through 15. It's the start of Lent, and we're focused on the fact that Jesus goes out into the wilderness for 40 days. He's tested by Satan, and then he comes back and begins his ministry. When we're thinking about this, we've been out in the wilderness before, actually. If you remember, in early December, we were out in the wilderness for John the Baptist, and now we're thinking about the wilderness again. And I gotta say, on first impression, Times Square is not like the wilderness, right? Unless you think of that concrete jungle sort of thing, this is actually about as far from the wilderness as you could possibly get. But we know that in Mark 9 through 15, we're looking at Jesus having been first baptized, and then he goes out into the wilderness, and the Bible says really something very interesting here, which is that Jesus is driven out into the wilderness by the Spirit, driven out. And it's this picture that we know that Jesus is supposed to go and be there. And then while he's there, he's tested by Satan. Now Mark, unlike Matthew, by the way, who has a lot of descriptions here, in Mark, all that it says is that he's tested by Satan. And then it says at the end that angels waited on him. So what does that have to do with what's going on here? Now, when you look around Times Square for a moment and you're thinking about that story, one way you might make that connection would be maybe that, you know, hey, that tested by Satan, and there's a lot of excess here, and maybe even a little bit of, you know, border on debauchery on some of the things here. And you're wondering, like, maybe that's what we're talking about. And you know what, I'm gonna say that's not the connection I make. If you've ever been to Times Square, you know that there is an amazing energy in Times Square. It happens to be about 11 o'clock at night here. It's still bright as day, and we're having a fantastic time out here. So when you're thinking about it, think about it a little bit more like this, I think. So even in the wilderness, Jesus is there because he's supposed to be there, and the angels are waiting on him. And even in Times Square, even in the midst of all this, amazing fun things happen. Earlier today, I saw that because it's Valentine's Day, the word love was as tall as a building out here. So we know we've got awesome messages that we can see when we look for them. Times Square happens to be the place that in 1945, a sailor kissed a nurse because we had just heard that Japan had surrendered. This is an awesome place for celebrations every New Year. We know that there's all this great stuff. And by the way, if we turn around again here real fast, all these lights, all this fun, all the things that happen, everyone gets to experience great things. So as we're thinking about the start of Lent and thinking about the fact that Jesus was out in the wilderness, that he was tempted, and then the angels waited on him, think about the fact that he was there and supposed to be there. And even in a place like Times Square, there are people here who are supposed to be here, doing great things, making connections with others, and doing all of that in the Lord's name. Everyone, have a great week. I'll show you a little bit more of Times Square on the way out. Thanks.